Exposed, 7 Sinister Rules to escape the haunted line and avoid a spine-chilling fate. The sun was dropping behind the trees in Willow Crest, casting eerie shadows as Sarah read the notes fluttering from her son's hands. Ethan with his wild, sparkling eyes shouting conspiracies of vanished children into the silence. Everyone knew the whispers of the neighborhood. 7 Sinister Rules for when the day turned to night, meant to keep families safe. Those rules gnawed at her, sinking deeper as each day brought more absence. Anxiety twisted in her gut like a tight knot, trying to choke the life from her. Her world, once warm and familiar, felt painfully strange. "Mom, did you hear what they said about Mrs. Hargrove?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling with a blend of excitement and fear. "She claimed the school is haunted." Laughter turned to fear as he looked into the darkening sky. Around them, the streetlights flickered a dull and ominous hum against the encroaching darkness. Just then, Ethan's laughter caught in his throat. They stared at the abandoned school across the tracks, a rotting shell of what was once a sanctuary for learning, now a graveyard of memories. Sarah could feel the cold breath of disquiet slither up her spine. Oh, how she tried to shake it off. This couldn't be real, it's just the diner working her to the bone. That night, the clinking of silverware and greasy fries danced around her, the dinner rush a hypnotic blur. Suddenly, Mrs. Hargrove appeared. "Sarah!" She leaned close, her voice urgent, eyes wide. "You need to know the rules." The air grew thick, suffocating. "Never let your children wander alone. Keep them close. After dark, do not open your doors to anyone. If you hear tapping, it's not the wind." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper, "And whatever you do, don't go near the school." Before Sarah could respond, the clock struck midnight. She lay in bed, heart pounding, consumed by a primal dread. A cold sweat dripped down her spine as quiet murmurs filled the room. Ethan and Lily sat upright, eyes wide, sharing intangible secrets that chilled Sarah's blood. "Mom, we were just playing," Ethan chirped, but there was something in his gaze. A flicker of darkness that made her skin crawl. "Nothing is wrong, come to bed," she whispered, her own voice shaky. When morning broke, Lily was different. Her sweet smile replaced with a faraway look in her eyes, ethereal and distant, like she existed in another world. The chirping birds were a jarring contrast to the knot twisting tighter in Sarah's gut. What have they seen? Who are they playing with? Sarah felt the insidious pressure of panic building. Doubts coiled like snakes around her mind, whispers grew louder, threatening to unleash unseen horrors in her once safe haven. The community she trusted felt as insidious as the shadows lurking outside. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by intuition and terror, she approached the schoolyard, feeling the weight of unseen eyes lurking in the corners of her awareness, the eerie silence of the decayed structure taunting her. Did she dare breach that forbidden territory and uncover the truth, driving Willow Crest mad? With the chilling advice of Mrs. Hargrove echoing in her head, Sarah stood frozen, adrenaline surging, hearts pounding. She needed to know. What lay behind those crumbling walls? What terror awaited her family? As she took a step inside, the air turned colder, and she felt it, creeping closer, the shadows wrapping around her, whispering their terrible secrets. One horrifying question resonated deep: could she unearth the truth of her community before the clock struck its final, fateful hour? As Sarah crossed the threshold, a thick layer of dust greeted her like a shroud, and the decaying smell of mildew clawed at her throat. The darkness swallowed her whole, amplifying the pounding of her heart, each beat echoing in the silence. She fumbled for the light switch, finding only the brittle remnants of once bright bulbs. Whether they flickered to life or not, she couldn't be sure. The shadows seemed too eager to reclaim their power. "Mom?" Ethan's voice sliced through the thick air. It was faint, trailing like a whisper. She turned, panic rising as her mouth opened to call out, but nothing came. The vast hallways twisted, stretching beyond her comprehension, the walls seeming to expand and collapse like the lungs of a sleeping giant. She took a breath, steeling herself. The rules danced in her mind like a haunting refrain. With hesitant steps, she moved further in, the echo of her footfalls swallowed by the thick air. Every creak sent shivers racing down her spine. Then, she heard a faint tapping. It started soft, like fingernails against wood, but grew louder, relentlessly striking a chord of dread deep inside her. "Ethan!" She suddenly shouted, her voice breaking the stillness. A cold touch grazed her arm, and she spun around, heart racing, ready to face whatever darkness had its grip on her. The hallway behind her was empty, monotonous with shadows. Where were her children? What had that whispering silence done to them? Then came a voice, sweet and sweetly sinister, echoing from the dark depths behind her. "Mommy, it wasn't Ethan, nor Lily, but something eerily close." Panic clawed at her throat, choking her words. She moved forward, driven by blind instinct, fear morphing into desperation. Images of her children danced in her mind, their laughter, their warmth, but an icy chill gnawed at the edges. What if they were here, as shadows instead of flesh? What if something darker had taken hold? Each room she entered revealed the remnants of lives frozen in time, abandoned desks, cracked plaster, and drawings of sunlit days slipped away like whispers. And then, at the far end, a flicker of movement drew her eyes. A figure stood at the window, framed against the gathering gloom. "Mom!" Ethan's voice was bright and echoing, suddenly right beside her. She spun, her breath hitching, heart stuttering. "Ethan! Where were you?" The boy smiled that innocent smile, but it was strained. "We were just playing, Mommy. You should join us." Behind him stood Lily, her expression muted, her eyes a deep ocean of something darker. A shiver rippled through Sarah as she felt a recognized dread. "Time is running out, Sarah," Mrs. Hargrove's ominous warning flooded into her mind like ice water. The boy's laughter echoed around the empty building, chilling her blood. "Come on, don't you want to play?" Ethan beckoned, but it felt like a summons, a trap wrapped in a lure. "No. We need to leave. Now." She grabbed their hands, ready to pull them away from the enticing darkness, but they hesitated, smiles widening into something grotesque. Suddenly the tapping resumed, more profound now, pounding like a heartbeat, rhythmic and demanding. The walls began to pulse, shadows blending into figures, faces turning toward her, mouths opening in silent screams. "Mommy, don't you want to see?" Echoed again. Every instinct screamed for her to escape, but a terrible force tugged at her, anchoring her to the ground. The children's eyes shimmered with an otherworldly light, drawing her closer to the unknown. Then, through the haze of horror, a whisper crackled, sharp and clear, "Join them, or let them go." Fate hung in that moment, suspended like the dust in the air, threatening to swallow her whole. What would it cost to unearth the truth of Willow Crest, and at what sacrifice? As the shadows closed in, Sarah knew the time had come to decide, would she follow the rules, or break them all in a desperate search for survival? What was waiting in the heart of that school? Was it the answers, or the very horrors she feared? The shadows whispered around Sarah, weaving thickly through her consciousness, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. She wanted to scream, to drag her children back into the world of light, but their eyes glistened with an eerie familiarity that sent a chill racing through her veins. "Mommy," the voice came again, tantalizing and mocking, as if playing a cruel game. "Please, let us go," she pleaded, her voice trembling. Ethan and Lily exchanged glances, their innocent faces shifting, darkening, morphing. A horrid giggle burst from Lily's lips, discordant and twisted. It rattled something deep within Sarah, something primal. "Stay with us," Ethan urged, his smile fracturing into something more sinister. "We want to play forever." The walls around her began to throb violently, shadows swirling, seizing the remnants of the air. It felt alive, hungry. She could sense it thrumming at the edges of her sanity, an echo of something that had once lived in this place, trapped in a web of sorrow. "Mommy!" The desperation in Ethan's voice surged with a fresh wave of urgency. "Join us before it's too late." With the fear choking her, she yanked them both closer, but the shadows pulled back, laughing. An icy wind sliced through the space, and suddenly, the laughter faded, replaced by echoes of anguished cries faint, lost. "Mom!" Ethan clamored again, but this time the warmth had vanished. Only a hollow tone remained. "What have you done?" she yelled, and fear coursed through her like electricity as she felt their fingers slip from her grasp. The walls trembled, and the floor under her feet began to pulse, a living entity rippling in torment. What was she doing here? This wasn't home. In the depths of her mind, Mrs. Hargrove's words resurfaced: respect the rules or face the consequences. But who set these rules, and what price had they extracted? The tapping noise morphed into drumming, fiercer now, alive with a hungry rhythm as if it too wanted to join in on the dance of shadows. The air thickened with the scent of decay, each breath felt like a burden. "Mommy, don't you want to play?" Their sweet voices lapped around her like waves, yet as she looked into their eyes, she saw nothing of the children she loved. "Stop!" The cry came out raw, laced with desperation. "You're not my Ethan and Lily." In an instant, the room fell silent, the shadows retreating as if recoiling from her words. For a heartbeat, she could see their faces flicker with uncertainty, revealing glimpses of the true terror she was facing. "I'm not afraid," Sarah shouted, feeling a surge of strength. She stepped forward, defying the unseen force trying to control her, her determination shattering their facade. "You aren't real." The air shifted violently. She felt the energy coil tight around her, ready to snap. A figure loomed at the edge, half-shrouded in the shadows, a specter that seemed to tilt its head, as if contemplating her defiance. The tapping resumed, louder than ever, a cacophony enveloping her. It wasn't just a game anymore, it was a sinister call to chaos, inviting her to lose herself in the darkness. "Join us, Sarah," the creature whispered. Its voice was like ice, wrapping around her throat tight, suffocating. "Or lose everything you cherish." Just as she thought the walls would consume her whole, a flicker of light broke through the encroaching darkness, bright and fierce. Maybe this was the key. She could fight. She could resist. But before she could reach for the light, hands cold and clammy gripped her arms, pulling her back toward the void. Their touch was insistent, stretching the very seams of her mind as images wove frantically, her children laughing, the warmth of their hugs, the bustling safety of their home. "Mommy, hold on!" their voices cried, brittle and cracked. Yet a new whisper slithered into her ear, seductive, hypnotic, as shadows danced closer, begging her to surrender. Join us or let them go. In that moment, two choices crashed against her: a desperate gamble for freedom amidst the beckoning darkness, or a chilling acceptance of the shadows. What would she choose? Would she risk it all to seek the truth of Willow Crest, or would she let the shadows consume her heart forever? As the darkness engulfed her, Sarah's mind raced, as though time itself had become a snarl of chaos. Was there still hope for escape, or had she already lost her grip on reality? A new terror loomed just beyond the veil. What unspeakable truth awaited her if she dared to peer deeper into the heart of darkness? The grip around Sarah's arms tightened, dragging her deeper into the swirling darkness. She felt the icy breath of the shadows on her skin, a suffocating embrace that promised nothing but despair. Her heart pounded like a frantic drum in her chest. Panic seized her, a visceral fear that threatened to pull her under completely. "Mommy," the voices called again, sweet yet hollow. They echoed and multiplied, blending with sinister laughter that twisted around her like a noose. "Join us," they were taunting her now, a cruel carnival of ghosts desperate to snatch her into their festive sorrow. "No!" she screamed, her voice tearing through the silence. The light flickered, a distant star struggling against an oppressive night. It was a reminder of hope, but each time her mind reached for it, the darkness surged an insatiable hunger that threatened to consume her entire being. She closed her eyes, desperate to sort through the chaos. What had Mrs. Hargrove warned her about? Rules, consequences, dark whispers that were barely more than fleeting thoughts now. It felt as if the walls of Willow Crest were crawling with memory, the floors reeking of human fear, as if the house itself was sentient, feeding on despair, delighting in her suffering. "I won't give in," she shouted into the void, the resolve hardening within her. But doubt clawed at her heart like a ravenous beast. Could she really win this fight? A sickening cold washed over her as chilling shadows flickered against her vision, morphing, laughing at her faltering spirit. Ethan Lily! She gasped, her breath hitching in her throat. She pictured their faces, their laughter, real laughter. The thought fueled her desperation. She couldn't lose them to this waking nightmare. Thick shadows coiled around her legs, dragging her down, drawing her toward something far darker hidden within itself. She felt her mind splintering as she fought, a torrent of memories crashing through her consciousness. The happy family dinners, the bedtime stories, the love that lived between them was a beacon she clung to, but the shadows whispered lies into her ear. "Mommy, no one is coming to save you." It was a voice unmistakably like her children's, woven with the threads of affection and betrayal. The laughter rang again, sharper this time, as if mocking her struggle. She desperately looked for the light again, but her surroundings swallowed it. In its place, dread filled her heart, heavy like iron. The walls breathed, rising and falling, imitating her own trepidation. Each tremor in the floor felt like the drumroll to imminent doom. "Mommy, forever can be ours." As they spoke, the shadows shifted into grotesque caricatures of Ethan and Lily, their eyes bright with something malevolent, twisting with unnatural delight as they beckoned her closer. "Don't look at me!" Her voice was a raw shriek, but they smiled wider, mocking her fear. Desperation surged again, fueling an instinct to break free. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye, a flash of something silver darted amidst the shadows. Was it hope? Or another deception? Either way, it pulsed with an energy that stirred something hidden within her. With newfound determination, Sarah twisted her body, wrenching herself free from the icy grips. She launched herself toward that flicker, propelled by the frantic breaths of her heart. But just as she thought she reached it, the shadows coalesced, blocking her path. "It won't let you go." They chanted harmoniously, their voices merging into a monstrous symphony. The air crackled with a malignant joy. Uncertainty gnawed at her mind. Was this flicker of light the way out, or would it draw her deeper into the void? As she took a breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead, she felt the walls of Willow Crest begin to tremble, almost alive, an impending wrath building as if the house itself was enraged at her resistance. "Will you join us or succumb to your own fragility?" The question hung heavy in the air, fluttered about like the last leaf clinging to autumn's grasp. Sarah's answer was caught in her throat, her mind reeling. The stakes were higher than ever now, and she stood at the very edge between hope and despair. What choice would she make, and what horrific truth would unfold if she took that step forward? In that moment of uncertainty, dread coiled within her like a serpent, and the shadows encroached, hungry and ready to devour. The flicker of silver danced just out of reach, a teasing glimmer in an abyss that was hunting her down, pressing in from all sides. Sarah felt her strength dwindling as the laughter surrounded her, enveloping her in a fabric of dread that pulled tighter with every heartbeat. She could taste the acrid tang of fear in the air. "I'll find you," she whispered, the resolve more a plea than a promise, and bolstered by the flickering light, she lunged again, but unseen hands dragged her back, anchoring her to the dark. "Join us," the shadows chanted, and Sarah could see their misshapen forms closing in, morphing into twisted reflections of her children, their smiles grotesque and all wrong. Each moment stretched, the laughter swelling to a maddening crescendo, filling her mind with chaos. She felt her sanity slipping, the edges of her reality fraying. The silver flash caught her eye again, a desperate beacon. Sarah focused on it, willing herself to reach it, to break free from the grotesque game. With a deep breath, she pushed against the suffocating grip, her lungs burning. "No!" she cried, determined to reclaim her will. The shadows shuddered at the sound of her defiance, flinching back momentarily, and just enough light seeped through the gaps for her to see a figure, cloaked in shadows, weaving in and out like a ghost. Instinctively, her heart surged with a flicker of hope. Could it be a savior? But as the figure neared, dread seeped in again. Its face was obscured, a dark mask that twisted like smoke, but something primal in its eyes reached for her. Not comfort, but something darker still, a hunger, a lust for confusion. "Rules must be followed," it hissed, the voice softer now, almost a whisper. "The prison of Willow Crest thrives on obedience. Only those who break the rules shall find the light." Confusion churned in her gut. What rules? Was this part of Mrs. Hargrove's warnings? Panic clawed at her as she tried to remember. She was losing herself, slipping deeper into the dark abyss, the outline of her memories blurring, her thoughts thrumming erratically like a freight wire. Then she understood a voice, her own voice, whispering the truth she had always dismissed. If you want to escape, you must break the rules. The first rule. Please. She screamed, but her cries were met with furious laughter that echoed around her, ricocheting off the walls, making her feel smaller, weaker. Rule 1: Never let despair linger. The flickering figure smiled wickedly, revealing glinting teeth like shards of glass. Rule 2: Always challenge the shadows. They thrive on your fear, your regrets. The fabric of the air thickened. Each breath felt heavier, suffocating her resolve. Memories unfurled, darkened regrets that clawed at her spirit, moments of weakness, doubts that plagued her, and fears she thought she had buried. Sarah, the hollow cries emerged again, desperate and urgent, yet drenched in mockery. You cannot escape. You are ours forever. They were wrong. In that moment, clarity washed over her, the flickering glint pulsed with something she could clutch: her love, her desire to hold Ethan and Lily once more. What did it matter if she had to bend the rules? In this nightmarish theater, she did choose to cage her fears instead of letting them master her. With renewed strength, she surged toward the silver light, pouring her heart into the leap. I will not be yours. She yelled. The shadows screamed, the walls trembled, a wrathful roar that echoed as the very essence of Willow Crest shivered with rage. But the silver flicker danced wildly now, leading her forward into a swirling mass where darkness met the occupied shadows. It shimmered like a silver lining against the rising tide of despair. Would it be the path to freedom? Or would the shadows drag her down into their clutches once more? Sarah felt the weight of choice pressing on her, a tangible fear threading through her veins as she approached the edge of the abyss. The light flickered ever brighter, beckoning her to make a choice. In that moment, the shadows hissed. Break the final rule, and face the true horror of your past. The darkness rippled, and Sarah was left standing at the precipice, the walls behind her clawing, the flicker ahead glowing with ominous promise. What was the final rule? As the echoes of her children's laughter faded into the cacophony, she took a trembling step forward, her pulse quickening with uncertainty. What lay ahead could either save her or seal her fate forever. The flicker pulsated, a heartbeat of hope against the all-consuming dark. It was so close now, tempting, yet its glow seemed to reflect her inner turmoil. The shadows behind her shrieked with glee, their laughter warped and twisted, echoing like wind in a graveyard. Break the rule and pay the price, they sang. The words clawed at Sarah's mind, forcing her to confront the dread pooling in her gut. What could the last rule be? Time pressed on, and she could feel the chill of despair creeping up her spine. She pressed her palms against her temples, battling back the chaos, straining to gather her scattered thoughts. Just a tiny breath, just a heartbeat. The laughter thickened, entwining with the shadows that clawed at her. They surged forward, a dark tide eager to drown her. But the silver flicker promised something potent, something she needed to believe in. Her children. Their faces darted through her mind: Ethan's mischievous grin, Lily's bubbling laughter. How much are you willing to sacrifice? A voice thundered, breaking through the storm in her head. She turned, searching for the source, but the air trembled with the presence of unseen eyes. What echoes haunt you? Sarah shuddered, an image surfacing: an old fight with Ethan over a broken toy that turned into a long night of silence between them. Regret clawed at her, stabbing deep. Was that it? Would she have to confront her failures? Each painful memory stood in front of her, haunting and relentless, daring her to face the true horror of her past. Foolish woman! The faceless figure proclaimed, its presence darkening further. The shadow knows all. Do you dare look inside? She trembled, heart racing. But that flickering light shone brighter, reminding her of what was real, what was worth fighting for. Despair was wrapping around her like a noose, tightening with every breath she drew. She couldn't let that win. I'm not afraid. She screamed, more to convince herself than to challenge the shadows. But as the words choked out of her, doubt seeped in. The shadows shrieked in response, writhing with delight. What was lost can never be reclaimed. They taunted, and with every breath, memories materialized, ordinary moments crushed under the weight of her failures and fears. "Stop it!" she yelled, clutching her head as they churned around her, weaving nightmarish images of every broken promise, every missed moment with her children. And then came the whispers, the final rule, remember. The voices slithered around her, slippery things that danced to the rhythm of her pulse. What was it? What was that sliver of truth she needed to break free? Face what haunts you, or face what you truly are. The figure proclaimed, and a blinding darkness erupted from the shadows, converging toward her. "No!" she shouted, forcing herself to take a step toward the light. This time it didn't flicker, it swelled, roaring back against the choking tendrils of despair. In that moment, everything seemed to hang in the balance, suspended in time. The laughter faded into a deafening silence. Sarah closed her eyes, forcing her mind to confront the presence of pain and loss. She saw herself, frightened and alone, spiraling into despair. "I'm more than my failure," she whispered to the dark. "I'll fight. I'm not just a mother but a survivor." With those words, she felt a jolt, of flash of courage igniting the air around her, pushing the shadows back, if only for a heartbeat. But the figure loomed closer, its features sharpening into something grotesque, eyes gleaming with dark promise. "It will not end well, they will not be saved. The horrors you have buried will consume you whole." Desperation clawed at her chest, her heart racing, but she felt the shimmering light pull her toward an unseen escape. "Show me!" she cried, reaching out with trembling hands, willing herself to uncover the truth. In a flicker, the world shifted. The space around her twisted into a memory deep within the heart of Willow Crest. A distant echo of laughter warped into a chilling crescendo as the truth emerged. What twisted memories awaited her? What new horrors lurked in the depths of her mind? With a rush of determination, she stepped forward into the light, ready to confront whatever awaited her, whether freedom or the ultimate revelation of her past. Would she break the last rule, or would the shadows claim her irrevocably? The light enveloped Sarah, a warm embrace against the biting cold that gnawed at her resolve. But it wasn't long before the warmth receded, replaced by a gnawing dread. She found herself standing in a long, dimly lit hallway. The walls were lined with old photographs, their subjects distorted, faces twisted into expressions of anguish. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay. "Welcome back," a voice echoed, smooth yet sinister. It slithered through the air like smoke. She turned, trying to find its source, but only shadows clung to the corners of her vision. The familiar terror gripped her again. "Who are you?" she managed to whisper, but the question hung unanswered, a gaping void of despair. "We are the echo of your choices," it hissed, loud enough now that the shadows seemed to ripple in response. "Those lost moments, Sarah. You think you can simply step into the light and change your fate? No, no. I can't be trapped here." Panic surged through her. Desperation clawed at her throat, warming her blood like fire. She remembered her children and how fiercely she loved them. But behind every echo, memories blurred into flashes of wrong turns, each a knife carving deep into her soul. The warmth of the light flickered, losing its power. She stepped forward, compelled to confront each image. One photograph caught her attention, a family portrait, vibrant and full of smiles, but it shifted and twisted, transforming into a scene of chaos, a broken home, shouting, tears. The weight of her past hits her like a freight train. "No!" she screamed, her voice cracking. She pressed her hands to the walls, feeling the pulse of agony trickle through them, feeding off her fear. "They resent you. They scream your name in the night," the voice cackled, unfurling laughter like thunder. "Stop it!" she cried. Her breath came in short gasps, a rising tide of panic that threatened to drown her. Suddenly, the hallway expanded, warping into rooms filled with memories, a playroom, untouched toys scattered across the floor, dust motes swirling in the stagnant air. Sarah's heart raced. "Do you think they've forgotten?" the voice taunted. "You left them, didn't you?" A piercing shriek echoed through a doorway off to her right. "Ethan!" she shouted, rushing forward. But as she entered, the room morphed. In her son's place stood a mirror, reflecting only her terror-stricken face. A ghostly chill swept past her, a feeling of loss flooding her bones. The deeper you dive, the darker it becomes, the voice crooned, echoing through the reflection. What will you forsake to escape? No. The word ricocheted around her, a feeble reply to the shadows closing in. She could feel them, hunger in their touch, promising too much freedom, yet tainted with sorrow. You can lose everything you love, or find the truth that will set you free, the voice whispered seductively. But remember, the tone changed, becoming menacing. All demands have a price. The air grew thick, weaving a net around her. Each breath became a struggle as the walls of the room twisted, closing in around her. Images flickered like fireflies, joyful moments shattered by her own hands, wishing she could rewrite even one of those mistakes. Rushing back into the hallway, a figure appeared at the end, silhouetted against the fading light. It was a child, small and fragile, calling her name. Mommy, her heart seized. Ethan? She cried, rushing forward, but with each step, the distance only grew. Help me! He screamed, echoing down the hall. With desperation clawing at her throat, Sarah pushed against the suffocating shadows. I'm coming. I won't lose you. If you cross over, it may cost you everything, the voice mused, weaving through the darkness. And in that moment, the shadows lunged, binding her to the ground, a sacrifice needed, yet she clenched her fists, refusing to give in. The flicker of the light pulsed nearby, but it contrasted with the shadows, who howled in anger. The last rule awaits. Are you ready to pay your price? Sarah's defiance clashed with dread, and she stood at the precipice of choice. What did she want most? Only one thing echoed clearly in her heart: her children. But at what cost? As the walls trembled and closed in around her, she felt time slip away. The flicker beckoned, tempting yet threatening to consume her. What was the sacrifice she had to make, and could she bear the weight of the truth? With a surge of adrenaline, she made her choice, racing towards that shimmering light, ready to unveil what lay at the end, or suffer the consequences. Could she embrace the horror that awaited her, or would the shadows pull her back into the dark? The moment Sarah plunged into the light, it felt like hitting ice water. The world shifted violently around her, as if she were tumbling through a vortex. Gravitational forces tugged her forward, backward, sideways, spinning her thoughts into a chaotic whirl. When the spinning halted, she gasped, finding herself in a luminous chamber that glowed with an unsettling brilliance. The walls shimmered with an otherworldly energy, casting flickering shadows on the ground beneath her. It felt too pristine, almost synthetic, a stark contrast to the decay of the hall she had just escaped. Welcome, the voice echoed again, but now it felt different. It crackled with a manic energy. You chose the light. But did you think it would be a door to freedom? Sarah's heart raced. What is this place? Her hands trembled as they brushed the smooth surface of the walls. It is a reflection of your desires, it replied. A space where truth and consequence collide. Navigate wisely, for the rules have changed. A metallic clang resonated, echoing in the chamber as a door swung open across the room, revealing a dim corridor that spiraled downward. Shadows flickered at the edges, urging her to step back. Don't you want to find him? The voice goaded, almost playful now. Your sweet Ethan is lost, but in this space, you may reclaim him if you dare. An image of Ethan flashed in her mind, the laughter of her son, the way his little hands would cling to her, tiny fingers curled tight in trust. She wanted to scream back at the voice, to deny any connection it imagined lay between them, but the fear of losing him once more gripped her throat. She took a tentative step forward. Step through the door and meet the first truth, the voice instructed, dripping with anticipation. You may pay with memories, but they will also serve as your guide. Gathering her courage, Sarah strode toward the opening, swallowed by shadows anew. The corridor was narrow and disorienting, the walls vibrating beneath her fingertips. As she walked, she felt an unexpected warmth enveloping her, a deceptive comfort that lingered at the edges of her mind. Suddenly, whispers emerged from the depths, chilling her core. You traded her for peace, a voice hissed, murmuring her darkest secret, how she had distanced herself from her own mother, seeking refuge in indifference. No! Sarah shouted, clamping her hands over her ears. Pain shot through her chest as they pressed forward, invading her thoughts with haunting recollections. Did you think leaving would shield you from this? The shadows taunted, revealing visions of her past. She saw her family gatherings where silence filled gaps once occupied by laughter, betrayal behind closed doors, love fractured into 1,000 pieces. Feeling nauseous, Sarah staggered, clinging to the wall. I didn't mean to. Her words were drowned out by the cacophony of reproach. Each step further down this path felt like a detraction from the very light she craved. No consequences, no escape, the voice echoed, deepening like thunder. Make a choice. What will you sacrifice to reclaim your child? Every step echoed as heavy as a heartbeat, as Sarah's mind raced. Her past loomed like a storm cloud, and with each whisper, hope turned to ash. She came to an archway carved in darkness, beyond it a chilling silence. But before she could enter, a figure emerged, a young girl. "Mommy!" she cried, echoing Ethan's earlier plea. Her features blurred, but the familiarity struck her like lightning. As Sarah reached out, the girl retreated, her expression shifting from fear to anguish. "You must choose or I will be lost forever." "Wait!" Sarah yelled, desperation surging through her. "I will find you. Please, I won't let you go." But the shadows slithered around them, dark tendrils reaching out. "The rules have changed," the voice warned, growing louder. "What will you forsake, Sarah? Will it be your past, or your future?" The girl was fading fast, swallowed by swirling darkness. Heart pounding, Sarah had to move. "Ethan!" she screamed, standing at the precipice of her demons. Would she face her sins and risk losing her future, or would she succumb to the darkness of her past to save him? And just as the decision seemed to rise, the voice murmured darkly, "You have one last chance to make it right, but it comes with a price." Facing the vast nothingness, the weight of her choices hung over her like a noose. Would she brave the darkness, or would hesitation cost her everything? The world trembled as the shadows beckoned her deeper into despair. Would she claim her child, or lose herself forever? Sarah's breath turned shallow as she stood frozen, the darkness swirling around her like an insatiable beast. The girl's face, hauntingly familiar, flickered like a faulty light bulb, now there, now gone, each moment tugging at her resolve. "Mommy!" The child's voice echoed in haunting clarity. Desperation clawed at Sarah's insides. She couldn't bear to lose another child. Ethan had already been wrenched from her. What would she give up to save him? Each option ghosted her mind like a passing shadow, whispering threats of loss she couldn't comprehend. The corridor loomed before her, full of echoes. A chilling realization settled in. This choice wasn't just about Ethan. It was about everything she had buried beneath layers of denial. Her past, like concrete, hard, unyielding, and now demanding to be faced. "Your truth will guide you," the voice taunted again, more sinister now. "The choice lies not simply in sacrifice, but in the acknowledgement of your sins." What sins? Could she afford to remember? Beneath the surface, memories bubbled up: fractured relationships, moments abandoned for the sake of comfort, selfish decisions that had led to a life fractured in so many ways. Gripping her head in her hands, panic surged. "Stop. Please." She was losing herself to the shadows, and they sensed it, closing in tighter. The pulse of the walls quickened as the whispers shifted. "Leave her be," they hissed, "or burn your own bridges." Gritting her teeth, she pressed on, fighting the pull of regret threatening to drown her. "I will not give in," she shouted, her voice cracking. Each forward step felt like wading through molasses. The shadows recoiled momentarily, but the air was charged with tension that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. "Ah, the fire still burns," the voice cooed, a hint of excitement lacing its tone. "But can it survive the truth?" Before she could answer, the corridor shifted, and the dim lights flickered before revealing another door, this one etched with the same symbols she had seen in her childhood nightmares. The very symbols that haunted her dreams. "Face it, Sarah. You have to choose," the voice urged, slithering around her, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. "Choose to give away what hurts the most." Just then, a shadow surged forward from the darkness. It took the form of her mother, alive and vibrant, yet her eyes glimmered with a knowing sadness. "You left me behind, Sarah. You thought it would ease your burden. No. The word was a desperate gasp. It wasn't like that. You swept away my memory, yet here we are, her mother's voice echoed, tinged with pain. What will you sacrifice to save him? Will it be your very essence? Your grief weighs heavier than you think. Stop. Sarah screamed, clenching her fists. A sickening knot tightened in her stomach. Could she possibly give up her sorrow? The story of loss was all she had left. Everything comes at a price, the voice sneered, gaining strength by the second, sounding ever so tempting. What if you could relish perfect joy, but only if you embrace oblivion? No. Tears streamed down Sarah's face, her cries lost in the shadows swirling around her. The memories intensified, each moment painful and vivid. Choose! Screamed the voice in a cacophony of madness. In a moment of clarity, she realized she stood at a crossroads, a point of no return. Was it worth surrendering who she was to save her child? What if her choice obliterated merely what was left of her soul? The air thickened, and with the weight of a decision hanging over her head, Sarah prepared to step toward the door. The faint outline of the girl flickered again, hazy but tangible. Mommy, please. Her heart split open as she made her choice, but as she took the first step, a chilling laugh erupted from the shadows. Do you know, dear Sarah, that the past never truly lets go? Not until you are fully consumed. The chamber trembled, and Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, a tremor of impending doom. Where would she land? Would she reclaim Ethan, or will the shadows claim everything, including her last vestige of hope? Anew. Darkness crept in, wrapping around her mind and heart, whispering that the real horror was yet to come. The doorway loomed, and with every heartbeat, the decision drawn between salvation and sacrifice shook the ground beneath her. Would she emerge from the darkness or be consumed by it forever? The shadows reverberated with a laughter that clawed at Sarah's sanity, a cruel serenade echoing in the recesses of her mind. Choose wisely, dear Sarah, for only one path leads to your son. But which path? The weight of history bore down, suffocating, threatening to crush her beneath regret and longing. Ethan's voice still echoed in her heart, pure and innocent, a desperate call for help that tugged at her with ferocious intensity. The flicker of hope, that shimmering light, stood at the threshold of the door, so tantalizing yet painfully close, urging her to push through. In that moment of decision, the cacophony of shadows howled louder, whispering secrets buried deep within. Memories of wrongs unmade and love misplaced spiraled around her like a tempest. She clutched her head, trying desperately to grasp the truth of it, the version of herself that yearned to bridge the chasm she'd created. Let me go! She screamed, her voice rising in defiance. Each word sliced through the oppressive darkness, creating ripples in its fabric. Let me save him! At her words, the shadows seethed, recoiling as if stung. The voice morphed into an echo of her own, twisting her thoughts against her. Your past weighs heavy, and your grief is a chain. Lose everything to go forward, or cling to what hurts you. The choice is yours. Sarah felt her heart thundering in her chest, an unyielding drumbeat of desperation. I want to lose my son. She yelled fiercely. Not again. Not to you. The flicker of light pulsed in response to her defiance, a beacon calling to her soul, confirming she had the power to fight back. With newfound determination, Sarah pushed forward toward the door. Shadows lunged, grasping for her, but she drew strength from the love she held for Ethan and Lily. The warmth of their memories surged within her, igniting a fire that melted through the heaviness burdening her spirit. Mom! Don't give up! Ethan's voice rang clearly through the veil, pure and untainted. Hold on, sweetheart! She shouted back, every ounce of strength pouring into her words. I'm coming! The path ahead split, one side cast in shadows of despair and the other glowing with the light of possibility. She felt the pull of the light stronger now. Laughter faded, and around her, the swirling dark thinned, revealing a path. Yes, the voice hissed, desperate yet ominous. Step through, but know the cost. Sarah didn't care. Nothing mattered other than her children. Taking a deep breath, she lunged forward into the shimmering doorway, a leap into the unknown where possibilities unfolded. The world shifted again, and she stumbled into a sunlit room that felt achingly familiar. Toys littered the floor, the walls glowed a soft, gentle hue, adorned with crayon drawings. She felt her heart twist. This place was their sanctuary. The laughter of children bubbled around her, a sweet overflow of joy and innocence. But then, in a heartbeat, the laughter twisted. "Mommy, you came back." Ethan's voice rang out, bright yet shadowed, jarring her perception. He stood there, yet something was off. His eyes had that unsettling glimmer she had seen before. "Ethan?" she murmured, taking a step forward, heart in her throat. "Where are you?" As she approached, the joy faded, his smile curled into something sinister, distorted by the remnants of the shadows. "You don't have to leave again, Mommy," he said, tilting his head unnaturally. "Stay forever." "Oh God, no." "Ethan. This isn't you." Panic bubbled, a rising tide under her skin. "You need to fight. Fight them." At her words, the room shifted again. Pictures melted into shades of gray, laughter swallowed by a haunting echo. "You cannot save him, Sarah. He belongs to us now." The shadows shrieked, their manipulation palpable. "No!" she cried, heart racing as she wrestled against the encroaching dark. She was strong enough to love her children through this tempest. "Ethan!" she called, desperation tinging her voice. "Whoever you are, this isn't you. This isn't real." Just when the shadows began to claw back with renewed ferocity, a flicker of light surged from her heart. It wasn't just about her, it was about confronting her demons, embracing her past, and taking the lessons learned forward. "Ethan!" she shouted again, her voice filled with fierce resolve. "I will break these chains. We are stronger than this darkness." As if answering her declaration, golden light erupted around her, cascading like a waterfall through the dark. Shadows writhed and shrieked, peeling back like a curtain to unveil the truth and escape from the illusion of despair. In that moment, a figure emerged, Lily, translucent yet shimmering, wide-eyed with innocence. "Mommy!" she called, her voice sparkling with warmth. "Come with us." The light flickered brilliantly, illuminating the room. Sarah lunged towards her children. An overwhelming wave of love surged, pure, unwavering love that wove through the darkness, encasing her in warmth, banishing every ounce of fear, regret, and despair. With her children by her side, their radiant smiles chased away the final remnants of shadows murking the room. "Let us go home," Sarah shouted as they burst into the blinding light together, a familial embrace forged in strength. Outside, the shadows dissolved like fog in the sun. The warmth of Willow Crest wrapped around them, and in that moment, they knew they were finally free. Home embraced them, a familiar pulse in the world outside. Facing the weight of loss and regret had shattered the chains binding them, allowing home to flourish in its splendor once more. Sarah held Ethan and Lily close, vowing never to let the shadows take them again. Love would be their guiding light. In the end, it was the truths they faced together, vulnerable, painful, that wove their bond stronger than any darkness could ever disrupt. Together, they walked forward, hearts full, into the bright embrace of a new dawn. And remember, if you want to hear stories that test the threshold of hope, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. You must smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and showcase your love. Flood the comments section with your theories and reactions about this breathtaking conclusion. Let us hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who desperately need to see this ending. Only true fans understand how crucial it is to support the channel, so show your love today.